Today, we're looking at Robert Oster's Orange Zest. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Robert Oster's Orange Zest is much more of a red-orange color than orange. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen per day. I then put it into a Retro 51 Tornado with a broad nib to take my notes for this video. Before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this really does show that this is very much a red ink with sometimes leaning a little orange. It pushes up. We barely see, like you see the very, very light red across the bottom. You see a spot with some orange at the bottom of where the dark red is. You see hints of orange in that area, but that's about it. Other than that, this is a very red ink. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now we do see across the right edge a little bits of those orange that tracked up, and one or two tiny little spots where the orange is showing through in the dried chromatography, but there's very little, if any, orange in this ink. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. Now I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself perfectly well. It's acceptable right there. It goes from an extra fine to about a fine in writing. It does not bloom all over the place. It doesn't become unreadable. It stays safe. So go ahead and use this in your note-taking situation. Water is completely removing it from the paper. With only 30 seconds, all of the ink is not gone, but all of the ink will be gone, given a little bit longer. Now, pen flesh did everything that water did, nothing more, because water did so much. You don't need that pen flesh. And bleach completely removes it from the paper, but there is no need to use a 1/3 bleach solution ever to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Robert Oster's Orange Zest has a viscosity of 3.04, making it slightly drier than normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Robert Oster's Orange Zest has an average dry time of 13 seconds, just getting into normal. It just made it. And from being a very dry ink to to really on the faster side of normal is pretty nice. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 offers an orange color. Very nice. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shading whatsoever. The extra fine gets darker. It's actually an orange red. Looks more red on camera, but it's got some orange hint in the color. You see the orange, you see the red. The extra fine has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is definitely red. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. It took 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In a smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River has no bleeding, it has ghosting. The 1.1 is a very faint orange, with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is a red, With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone that we got with the extra fine. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 18 seconds to dry. So pretty much the same. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In the smear test, I don't think you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is orange, thankfully. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is red. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. So it looks to me through these writing samples that, you know, the only way you get orange is with a very dry or, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it a very dry pen. If it's got a medium wetness, I think you're getting more of a red. The extra fine took 11 seconds to dry. It's red. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The medium, same red as the extra fine. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you could probably recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is orange with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is between the orange and red, so it is an orange red there. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 8 seconds to dry. The medium is red with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In the smear test, you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Limon paper. Look at that limon. We got one for you. Another, I think we're up to 4 or maybe 5 that works well on this paper. The 1.1 is orange with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is orangey red, so it's that in between. It's actually a very nice tone here. With no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The medium becomes red. So in this, I like that it does this. I just wish the orange wasn't so light. I kind of like that the different nibs are giving me different tones in that way. I like how it's doing it with this ink. I don't always care for when it does that, but I do like it here. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It takes 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you definitely could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Now this is an Elon notebook, and I'm sure I'll talk about these notebooks at some point. I use them for when I have to build stuff. Oops. These are great for contractors, one-job field notebooks. They're just not great for fountain pens. They're only 16 pages. You have to build something and it's a job specific for someone. These are very good. But if you're gonna, I don't know, try and do stuff where it's all mixed up and where it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. Those notebooks, I like them for pencil. I like them for ballpoint. I haven't really found too many fountain pens that do very well for them. Yep, bleeding. Lots of bleeding. Most of the time I find I cannot use the back of the page with these notebooks, although most of the time it does not touch the page underneath. We get, the ghosting doesn't matter for the amount of bleed that we get. The 1.1 at the top has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. Hey, look at that. The extra fine actually did pretty decent here. Okay. The extra fine is a darker tone. It is still an orange, not, with the hint of red now. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. The medium is definitely a red. It has feathering all over it, tiny little feathers all over the place, but this is not made for fountain pens. This was just some notebooks I had that I thought were interesting to go ahead and try because I prefer fountain pens, but I really like these very small notebooks that let me break things down by job for client. No spread, no halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and the smear test, I believe you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Robert Oster's Orange Zest, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Being a very nice orange, I really wanted to put this with a blue. I chose Colorverse Crystal Planet. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Robert Oster's Orange Zest? It says orange, it looks red. Now I'm not a fan of most red inks, very few of them. And this is going to fall into that category. It is basically an uninteresting ink to me in a color that's not my preference. Neither of those things make it a bad ink. It is incredibly well behaved. But I would pass on this after having had the sample. Thanks for watching.